Hi everybody, it's Claire back with another art journal video. Apologies, I am a bit full of cold, but I needed to kind of get this one done because obviously Dina's release is going live, and yeah, needed to have these ready. So I do apologise if there's any snuffling or anything like that. So I'm playing in the large craft journal and starting off using the Angles stencil. And I'm just using some black paint through the stencil. My plan is to use the pattern of the stencil to do a cutout page. And I am literally just going to be cutting out the black areas, but not the border. This is a really easy way to create a cutout, is to use the pattern that's already there in the stencil, particularly in one like this where there are very, very separate areas, which mean that when they're cut out, the page will still be stable. And for me, sometimes one of the easiest ways to do this is just to pop some black paint or a colour of paint through the stencil, and then you can see when you lift that away, you've got those areas marked that for you to cut out. So once that was dry, I then went in with my craft knife. So I've been asked where the cutting mat's from. It's a Dylusions one from Dina Wakley. I've had it quite a while, but it's a nice size. It's good for sort of fitting inside smaller journals. You just have to make sure that you move it round really so that you're not cutting off the mat. But yeah, this is a nice easy one to do because there are no tricky curvy lines to cut. This is quite straightforward. If there are any of you out there that are thinking, you know, cut out pages are too tricky for you, this is one that you could try because, like I say, it's just straight lines, and it's pretty quick as well to do. So my craft knife is a type of scalpel craft knife, where you can change the blades on it. It's a little bit scary to change, but yeah, it works quite well. So then once I've done that, I've popped a piece of paper underneath to catch any of the paint that goes through, because now I've almost created like a stencil in my journal page, I guess, really. And I'm putting in some turquoise paint, and I'm also going to use some orchid as well. So then once I've kind of blended those two colours together and it's dry, I'm then using this text stamp from Wakley May Scrapbooking, but I mean any text stamp would work. There are loads out there. Stampers Anonymous have got plenty, Dina's got some. This is just like a sort of almost like a typewriter font, and then this is my Dotty stamp, which I'm hoping will be released as an A7 stamp very, very soon from Funky Fossil. So next oh dearie me, I have got a piece of black cardstock, added some matte medium, and I'm going to stick a piece of collage paper onto that. This is from Dina's new collage paper pack called Jumbled Letters, and I'm gluing that down, trying to get rid of any air bubbles, but not worrying too much because I was going to be cutting my letters out of this. So I'm using Dina's Alpha Block stamp set. Actually, I think it's called Block Alpha. I always get that the wrong way around because in the UK there was a children's programme called Alpha Blocks. My kids used to love it when they were little. So my brain always puts that the wrong way around. I've also put a glove on just because I always get so mucky, and this archival ink is so difficult to get off your hands. And as you know, my eldest is a nail technician and she would go scranny if I went round with black archival ink all over my nails that she does for me. So a bit of self-preservation here as well. Yeah, so popping those onto an acrylic block and stamping them onto that background. My thinking being that the card kind of stiffens the collage paper a little bit, makes it a bit more sturdy, and the background of the jumbled letters collage paper will show through the letters, so it creates quite a nice effect. Yeah, so that's quite a nice thing to do. So I'm again just continuing to stamp those letters out. I'm going to pop them on there and then cut them out, but I'm going to cut them out as a block together rather than cutting each letter out individually. And then that will make them easier to add on to my cutout page. So I'm not being too careful about cutting out. I'm being, you know, not worrying too much. And then I will save all these little bits and they'll go into my collage fodder box. Okay, so now we're just kind of working out where I was going to put those, and then I decided I would just outline those letters just to make them pop out a little bit more from the black background around the letters. And this does just help to bring them forwards a little bit. So sometimes if something kind of disappears, have a think about outlining it or adding a drop shadow in another colour, in a contrasting colour, and it can just make things kind of pop a little bit more. So then obviously this stencil is from Dina's new release and it's called Sunshine, and my quote, choose to shine, well, I just thought it was perfect. So in my small craft journal I do tend to cut some of the pages out at the back because I add things in there, it kind of strains the spine a little bit and makes it a bit more bulky, whereas cutting a few pages out just relieves a bit of the stress on the spine of the book. So I do obviously save the pages that I cut out. So this is a page that was cut out from the small craft journal, and I'm going to use this to create my sun to go in the corner of my page. So I started off with ruby, and then that was tangelo, and obviously this is lemon. My paint water was really grubby at this point, so I was having to spend a while trying to get my brush clean, and I'm just sort of swooping these colours on and trying to blend them a little bit. I'm just taking some of the excess off there just so that I can blend that in, and then of course the tangelo had disappeared. Just bring that back a little bit. That's the great thing about acrylic paint, is that you can layer it over the top of itself. I'm just checking that I've made that big enough so that it will fill the stencil, but I needed to go a little bit wider with the yellow. And I'm using one of Dina's round brushes here as well for this. And then I'm using one of the metallic paints. This is Gilt, and I'm just popping this through the stencil using a blending tool. And then once that's dry, that will be cut out. So that works really well actually with the gilt paint through the stencil. And then it was about just working out where, sorry, excuse me, where these words were going to go. And I felt that the easiest way to get these in place was to staple them in, because obviously I can get through the page to get the stapler in there, and it would have been really difficult to know where to put the glue. So then I did the same with the sun as well. And then the bits that were overhanging, I did trim off. I mean, you don't have to do that really. You could have just left them poking out, but you know, I like to be tidy. And then I'm using my dotty stamp from Funky Fossil to just add a little bit of contrast onto the page, just bring a bit of white to break up that border. There it is, the finished page using Dina's new release. Lots of fun, a very easy cutout because of all the straight edges. So I hope you found some inspiration from all my videos using Dina's new release. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you again soon.